Okay, now you notice a spectacular pattern or figuring on this. This is a piece of London plane, which is basically a sycamore tree, a variety of soft maple. And this type of figuring is known as a Medullary Ray. If you're familiar with the old mission or arts and crafts furniture, they use quarter sawn white oak, which meant basically all cuts were going, this is straight through the middle of the tree, as opposed to just taking it and slicing it off the top. You'll only find this if you cut in 90 degrees to the center. So if you want this to show on a bowl of yours, this would be towards the center of the tree, and this side would be towards the outside of the tree. You don't get quite as many bowls, but if it has this type of ray pattern in it, this shows it off very, very well. Okay, so this is a piece from the same tree. It's got a little bit of figure on the side, very little on that side. So this is cut a little bit more off center. This would be in closer to the tree. This would be closer to the outside of the tree. Just doesn't show the pattern as well as it does when it's quarter sawn like that. They sometimes call this stuff lacewood, but very beautiful patterns on it. The one-handed inside the bowl cut. I do recommend this as a training exercise, and some people may consider me crazy for even suggesting that, among other reasons. But I do consider it a good training tool. Primary thing that it teaches you is you learn to feel the gouge as it is cutting. If you don't want to do it, don't worry about it. You can learn the same thing, it just takes a little bit more practice. If you want to do this cut and practice this cut, you can work your way up to it. Number one thing, turn the speed down. Number two thing, make sure you roll the flutes away from the cut. So speed is down, and make sure you roll the flutes away from the cut. If you're running it like this, that inside wing can cause a catch there, which you don't want. I generally start the cut with my hand on. And push. A way to practice without totally taking your hands off, just have the hand on light. Your accelerator, your drive pedal is all from the hand that's holding the handle. This hand just holds it on the tool rest. And if you notice, a lot of times when I'm turning, I don't even have this hand on the tool rest. Again, that just allows you to feel more what the tool is doing instead of feeling the tool rest. This little tower that I tend to leave in the center when I'm turning out the middle of a bowl, easiest way to get rid of it is a scraping type cut. So if I'm using a scraper, I would be just plunging straight in like that. Cuts a little easier than trying to push through it with a gouge. Main thing you got to watch out for is when you come down to the bottom, you're cutting with a small portion of it, and when you hit the bottom, you can actually get quite a bit of the steel into the wood and make for a catch. Same thing with a gouge. So I'd take the flutes, roll them over this way so it is a scraping cut, and when you get to the bottom again, you don't want this whole wing to engage in the cut. So I'll always stop a little bit short. Rolled over, scraping cut. Stop just short of the bottom. I can do real light cuts. If you ease off when you get to the bottom, there's not going to be a problem. Or again, a scraper works very nicely for this. So there are two different cuts you can do, and this is what they would generally refer to as a pull cut. Now I work with my handles level, and if I work with my handle level and I try to roll the bevel into the cut, this can actually off balance a tool, and that top side of the wing there, right there, catches. Of course, that's going to be way more dramatic when I'm out here. And if you take the handle and drop it, what happens is when you roll, you're rubbing the bevel, and then it just starts to cut. And so your tool is balanced. So handle level, I roll the bevel, it digs in. I drop the handle, roll it on its side, bevel rubbing cut. This is controllable. And it is more of a shear cut when it's like this. If you want to do it as a scraping cut, then that's where you would pick the handle up level, roll it on its side. So this is basically at 90 degrees to the rotation, and that is a scraping cut. Very efficient as a roughing cut, but obviously does not leave a very good surface. So that's a shear cut. That's going to leave a little better surface. And this is some kind of punky big leaf maple, so it's going to cut a little bit rougher than most other woods. Okay, this is an inside scraper. I am using it on the outside of the bowl because I'm going around this way. I started playing around with scrapers a couple years ago because I knew it used to be the go-to tool for most of the bowl turners. And you look at the finished product, and mine didn't look any better than theirs, or vice versa. And so I started, well, what do they know that I don't know? And I found this to be a very efficient tool for heavy stock removal. So first thing, a few light passes across it to smooth out the bottom, make it an even surface. It's fairly flat. I have one little bump in here, and for the next parts I like to start nibbling off the corners until I get all the way up to the edge. So start here, work my way back, and work my way down as I go. I am turning way slower than I normally do. That last little part I'm using more of the square tip here for kind of a plunge cut down the side. So now I have the bowl tool rest on here. Basically that will keep me in closer to the wood. I'm not going to spin this very fast. If you notice there's a crack in here, I don't think that one's going to come flying off, but I don't want to stand in the way just to make sure. Put it around the other side. And so that's pretty much a rough shaped bowl. Now those were roughing cuts, and if you look at the surface here, it is torn out. So basically the fibers are pulling out before they get a chance to cut, and that's because I'm doing a scraping cut. The cutting edge is 90 degrees to the rotation of the wood, and that does tend to pull. So now if I want to do a finish cut with my scraper, I want a shear angle. Shear angle will be drop the handle, so instead of running across the grain, I'm running at an angle with it. And we can see all the little ripples in there. And this will take several passes to remove them. That is pretty much a finished surface. Okay, now your round nose scraper can do the same thing. That's the advantage of it. With the curve on both sides, it's both an inside and an outside scraper. So I can get it down this side. Even that up like that. And that has it fairly smooth. Okay, outside of the bowl has been finished turned using the scraper. I need to clean up the bottom first. This will be my finished bottom. So again, I'm going to use a shear cut with the scraper. Flat cut's going to tend to tear more. Shear cut, where it's up at an angle, cuts a little bit, quite a bit cleaner. Again, a very light pull cut. Make several passes, get rid of the tear out that's in there, and smooth things up. That feels very smooth, ready to cut the recess.